Unexpected arrival. The citizens of Millbrook had always prided themselves on being an unremarkable town. Nestled in the rolling hills of the Midwest, its 5,000 residents were content with their quiet lives, far removed from the hustle and bustle of big cities. But on a warm summer evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Millbrook's claim to obscurity vanished in the blink of an eye. Sarah Chen, the town's young and ambitious mayor, was just locking up her office when she heard it, a low, thrumming sound that seemed to vibrate through her very bones. She stepped outside, her eyes scanning the darkening sky. That's when she saw it, a massive, shimmering object descending from the clouds, its surface reflecting the last rays of sunlight. "What in the world?" Sarah muttered, fumbling for her phone. As she raised it to snap a picture, the device went dead in her hand. All around her, streetlights flickered and died, plunging Main Street into darkness. The object, now clearly visible as some sort of spacecraft, was heading towards Millbrook Park. Sarah broke into a run, her heart pounding in her chest. This couldn't be happening. Not in Millbrook, not in real life. As she reached the park, she found she wasn't alone. Dozens of townspeople had gathered, their faces a mix of awe and fear as they watched the alien craft touch down on the baseball field. The ship was unlike anything Sarah had ever seen, even in science fiction movies. It was roughly oval-shaped, but its surface seemed to ripple and shift, as if it were made of liquid metal. "Mayor Chen," a voice called out, and Sarah turned to see Dr. Elias Rees pushing through the crowd. The town's resident scientist, Elias had always been considered a bit of an oddball with his wild theories about extraterrestrial life. Now, as he stood beside Sarah, his eyes wide with excitement, she had never been so glad to see him. "Dr. Rees," Sarah acknowledged, her voice barely above a whisper. Is this real?" Elias nodded, a grin spreading across his face. "Oh, it's real, all right. And it's incredible. Do you have any idea what this means for humanity, for science?" 4. His enthusiastic rambling was cut short as a hush fell over the crowd. The surface of the ship had begun to change, a section of it becoming transparent, and through this newly formed window, they could see movement. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as a figure approached the transparent section. It was undeniably alien, tall and slender, with skin that seemed to shimmer like the surface of the ship. Its head was elongated, with large, almond-shaped eyes that glowed with an inner light. As the alien gazed out at the gathered humans, Sarah felt a strange sensation wash over her. It wasn't fear, exactly, but a profound sense of something, wonder, destiny. She couldn't quite put her finger on it. "We should try to communicate," Elias whispered urgently. "Mayor Chen, as the leader of this town, you should." But before Sarah could respond, the alien raised a hand with too many fingers, she noted absently, and pressed it against the transparent barrier. In that moment, a voice seemed to echo in Sarah's mind, clear as a bell yet utterly alien. "Greetings, people of Earth," the voice said. "We come in peace." It was such a cliché, straight out of every cheesy alien movie ever made, that Sarah almost laughed. But the gravity of the situation quickly sobered her. This was real, this was happening, and as the mayor of Millbrook, it fell to her to respond. Taking a deep breath, Sarah stepped forward, aware of every eye, human and alien, upon her. She raised her hand, mirroring the alien's gesture, and spoke in a clear, steady voice that belied her inner turmoil. "On behalf of the people of Millbrook and of Earth, I welcome you," she said. "We are honored by your presence and look forward to peaceful exchange between our peoples." As soon as the words left her mouth, Sarah felt a bit foolish. She was the mayor of a small town, not a diplomat or world leader. Who was she to speak for all of humanity? But the alien seemed pleased. Its large eyes blinked slowly, and Sarah felt a wave of what she could only describe as approval wash over her. "Your words are received with gratitude," the alien voice resonated in her mind. We have traveled far to make contact with your species. There is much we can learn from each other." As the alien spoke, the ship began to change again. A section of its hull seemed to melt away, forming a ramp that led down to the ground. Sarah tensed, unsure of what to expect. Were the aliens about to disembark? Her question was answered moments later as 3 alien figures glided down the ramp. Up close, they were even more otherworldly. Their bodies seemed to shift and change subtly, as if they weren't quite solid. The effect was mesmerizing and slightly unsettling. The lead alien, the one who had first appeared in the window, approached Sarah. It towered over her, easily 7 feet tall. Yet despite its imposing size, Sarah didn't feel threatened. There was a gentleness to its movements, a carefulness that spoke of a desire not to frighten. "I am Zara," the alien said, its mental voice taking on a more distinct personality. "Lead explorer of the Galactic Confederation. We have been observing your planet for some time, and we believe the time is right for open contact." Sarah nodded, trying to process this information. A Galactic Confederation, observations of Earth. Her mind was reeling, but she forced herself to focus on the immediate situation. "I'm Sarah Chen, Mayor of Millbrook," she replied. "This is Dr. Elias Reeves, our local scientist." She gestured to Elias, who looked like he might faint from excitement. "We have so many questions." Zara's eyes seemed to twinkle with amusement. "As do we, Sarah Chen. The exchange of knowledge is why we are here. But perhaps this discussion would be better continued somewhere more private." Sarah glanced around, suddenly aware of the growing crowd. News of the alien landing was spreading fast, and more people were arriving by the minute. Some were taking photos and videos with their phones, which seemed to be working again. It wouldn't be long before the media descended on Millbrook. "Of course," Sarah said. "We can use the town hall. It's just down the street." As Sarah led the aliens towards the town hall, with Dr. Reeves trailing behind, peppering them with questions, she couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Not just for Millbrook, but for the entire world. Little did Sarah know, as she guided their extraterrestrial visitors through the stunned crowd, that this was just the beginning. The arrival of the aliens would set in motion a chain of events that would challenge everything she thought she knew about her town, her world, and even what it meant to be human. As they reached the town hall, Sarah turned to address the gathered crowd. "Citizens of Millbrook," she called out, her voice carrying across the park. "I know this is an unprecedented situation. I ask for your patience and cooperation as we navigate these extraordinary circumstances. Please return to your homes for now. We will hold a town meeting tomorrow to discuss this further." With a mixture of reluctance and excitement, the crowd began to disperse. Sarah could hear the buzz of conversation, the wild speculations already beginning to circulate. She knew that by morning, Millbrook would be the center of global attention. Inside the town hall, Sarah directed the aliens to the main conference room. As they settled around the large oak table, she couldn't help but marvel at the surreal nature of the situation. Here she was, about to engage in the first official dialogue between humans and an alien species in the same room where they usually discussed zoning laws and budget allocations. "Now then," Sarah said, trying to project an air of calm authority. "Perhaps we could start by learning more about your people and why you've chosen to make contact now." Zara's large eyes blinked slowly, and Sarah felt that strange mental connection forming again. "We are the Etheri," Zara explained. "Our civilization spans many star systems, and we have been observing Earth for several of your centuries. We believe your species has reached a crucial point in its development, a time of great potential, but also great danger." Dr. Reeves, who had been practically vibrating with suppressed questions, could contain himself no longer. "Danger? What kind of danger? And how advanced is your technology? The implications of faster-than-light travel alone are staggering." Sarah shot him a look, but Zara seemed unperturbed by the barrage of questions. "All will be explained in time, Dr. Reeves. But first, we must establish trust between our peoples. We have chosen this small town for our first contact precisely because we wish to connect with humanity on a personal level, not just through your governments or scientific institutions. As the conversation continued late into the night, Sarah found herself grappling with the enormity of what was happening. The Ethery shared tantalizing glimpses of their advanced science and philosophy, hinting at technologies that seemed like magic and ideas that challenged the very foundations of human understanding. But with each revelation came new questions, new concerns. How would the world react to the existence of alien life? What changes would this bring to human society? And why did Sarah have the nagging feeling that the Ethery weren't telling them everything? As the first light of dawn began to creep through the windows of the town hall, Sarah realized that her life and the lives of everyone in Millbrook had been irrevocably changed. The quiet, unremarkable town she had grown up in was now the focal point of humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. And somehow she, Sarah Chen, the young mayor who had once worried about filling potholes and balancing the town budget, was now at the center of it all. As she looked at the alien visitors, their shimmering forms casting ethereal patterns on the walls, she knew that the real challenges were only just beginning. The story of Millbrook, and of humanity's relationship with the Ethery, was about to unfold in ways that no one, human or alien, could have predicted. First contact. The morning sun rose over Millbrook, casting a golden glow on a town forever changed. Sarah Chen stood at the window of her office, watching as news vans and government vehicles poured into the small town. The secret was out. Aliens had landed in Millbrook, and the world wanted answers. A soft knock on the door pulled Sarah from her thoughts. Dr. Elias Reeves entered, his eyes bright with excitement despite the clear lack of sleep. "Mayor Chen," he said, barely containing his enthusiasm, "the Ethery have set up some kind of, well, I'm not sure what to call it. A field headquarters. It's incredible." Sarah nodded, having seen the structure herself. Overnight, a shimmering dome had appeared next to the Ethery ship in Millbrook Park. It seemed to be made of the same fluid, metallic material as the spacecraft. "Any word from the federal government?" Sarah asked, dreading the answer. Elias' excitement dimmed slightly. "Yes, a team from NASA and the State Department is on their way. They're requesting that we limit our interactions with the Ethery until they arrive." Sarah snorted. "A bit late for that, isn't it?" She straightened her jacket, decision made. "Come on, Dr. Reeves. Let's go talk to our new neighbors before the feds try to shut us out." As they made their way to the park, Sarah marveled at how quickly her town had transformed. The streets were packed with curious onlookers and reporters, all straining for a glimpse of the alien visitors. Police officers, looking overwhelmed, tried to maintain some semblance of order. Approaching the shimmering dome, Sarah and Elias were met by two Ethery. Sarah recognized Zara, but the other alien was new, shorter than Zara, with a more golden hue to its shimmering skin. "Greetings, Sarah Chen and Elias Reeves." Zara's mental voice resonated in their minds. "Allow me to introduce Lyra, our chief scientist." Lyra's mental voice had a different timbre, somehow feeling both older and more energetic than Zara's. "It is a pleasure to meet you both. We have much to discuss." As they entered the dome, Sarah gasped. The interior was vastly larger than the outside suggested, filled with strange, pulsating equipment and holographic displays that hurt her eyes if she looked at them too long. "How is this possible?" Elias whispered, his scientific mind struggling to comprehend what he was seeing. "Your species is on the cusp of understanding higher dimensional physics," Lyra explained, a note of excitement in her mental voice. "This structure exists partially in what you might call folded space." Sarah's head spun, but she forced herself to focus on the matter at hand. "Zara, Lyra, I need to know, why Millbrook? Why now? Our government is sending representatives, and I need to be able to give them some answers." Zara and Lyra exchanged a look that somehow conveyed volumes despite their alien features. Finally, Zara spoke. "The truth, Sarah Chen, is that your planet stands at a crossroads. The decisions made in the next few years will determine the fate of not just Earth, but potentially this entire sector of the galaxy. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. What do you mean? Lara stepped forward, gesturing to one of the holographic displays. It showed Earth, but surrounded by a web of glowing lines and pulsating nodes. Your planet occupies a unique position in the galactic energy matrix, Lara explained. The choices your species makes, the path you take, will have far-reaching consequences. We are here to guide you towards a beneficial outcome. Elias frowned. Guide us. That sounds an awful lot like interference. How do we know your idea of a beneficial outcome aligns with ours? Sarah nodded, grateful for the scientists' skepticism. As wondrous as the Etheri were, they couldn't afford to take everything at face value. Zara's form seemed to ripple, conveying what Sarah interpreted as discomfort. We understand your concern. Our intention is not to interfere, but to offer knowledge and perspective. The choice of how to use that knowledge will always be humanity's. Before Sarah could respond, a commotion outside caught their attention. Through the translucent walls of the dome, they could see a convoy of black SUVs pulling up, accompanied by military vehicles. It seems your government representatives have arrived, Zara observed. Sarah squared her shoulders. I should go meet them. Will you come with me? Zara nodded. Of course. It is time for us to meet more of your world's leaders. As they exited the dome, Sarah saw a group of stern-faced men and women in suits approaching, flanked by military personnel. At their head was a tall, imposing woman with steel-gray hair. Maya Chen, the woman called out. I'm Dr. Eleanor Kraft, Special Advisor to the President for Extraterrestrial Affairs. Sarah blinked, surprised by the specificity of the title. Dr. Kraft, welcome to Millbrook. I take it you've been preparing for this possibility for some time. Dr. Kraft's lips twitched in what might have been a smile. Let's just say we like to be prepared for all eventualities, Maya Chen. Now, if you'll introduce us to our visitors. As Sarah made the introductions, she could feel the tension in the air. The government officials eyed the Etheri with a mixture of awe and suspicion, while the aliens remained serene and inscrutable. Dr. Kraft stepped forward, her voice crisp and authoritative. On behalf of the United States government and the people of Earth, I welcome you to our planet. We have many questions, and I'm sure you understand our need for caution in this unprecedented situation. Zara inclined her head in what seemed to be a gesture of respect. We understand, Dr. Kraft. We are here in a spirit of openness and cooperation. All we ask is that you approach this exchange with an open mind. As the two groups began to talk, Sarah found herself pushed to the sidelines. She watched as Dr. Kraft and her team peppered the Etheri with questions about their technology, their intentions, and the potential threats they might pose. Elias sidled up to her, his voice low. They're asking all the wrong questions, he muttered. They're so focused on potential threats that they're missing the bigger picture. Sarah nodded, feeling a growing sense of unease. The government team seemed intent on treating the Etheri arrival as a potential invasion rather than an opportunity for collaboration and growth. As the day wore on, Sarah watched the interactions with growing concern. The initial wonder of first contact was giving way to political maneuvering and thinly veiled suspicion. She could see the Etheri becoming more reserved, less willing to share information freely. By evening, tensions were running high. Dr. Kraft had essentially taken over the town hall, setting up a makeshift command center. Military personnel patrolled the streets of Millbrook, and a no-fly zone had been established over the town. As Sarah prepared to head home for some much-needed rest, she was surprised to find Zara waiting for her outside her office. Sarah Chen, the alien's mental voice was tinged with what sounded like concern. We fear that the approach your government is taking may lead us down an unfortunate path. We chose Millbrook, chose you, because we sensed a potential for understanding and cooperation here that we did not find in your world's power centers. Sarah felt a weight settle on her shoulders. What are you saying, Zara? The alien's form shimmered, conveying a complex emotion that Sarah couldn't quite grasp. I am saying that the future we hope to build together is in jeopardy, and that you, Sarah Chen, may be the key to salvaging it. As Sarah walked home through the transformed streets of her town, Zara's words echoed in her mind. She had always thought of herself as just a small-town mayor, but now it seemed she might hold the fate of interstellar relations in her hands. The sun set on Millbrook, casting long shadows across the alien ship and the shimmering dome. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were all standing on the brink of something momentous, a new chapter in human history that could lead to wonders beyond imagination or consequences too terrible to contemplate. And somehow, improbably, it all hinged on what happened next in this small, once unremarkable town. As Sarah finally reached her home, she knew that sleep would be a long time coming. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new revelations, and perhaps the first steps towards humanity's cosmic destiny. The story of Millbrook, of Earth and the Ethery, was far from over. In fact, it was only just beginning. Cultural exchange. The following days in Millbrook were a whirlwind of activity. The once quiet town had become the epicenter of humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. As government officials, scientists, and media personalities swarmed the area, Sarah Chen found herself caught in the middle, trying to balance the needs of her town with the momentous events unfolding around her. One crisp morning, about a week after the Ethery's arrival, Sarah stood in Millbrook Park, watching as a group of local children cautiously approached a trio of young Ethery. The alien youngsters, their forms smaller and more vibrant than the adults, seemed just as curious about the human children. "Remarkable, isn't it?" Dr. Elias Reeves said, stepping up beside her. "They're already starting to communicate." Sarah nodded, a smile tugging at her lips as she watched one brave little girl offer a flower to an Ethery child, whose form shimmered with what seemed like delight. "It's giving me hope, Elias," Sarah admitted. "After all the tension with the government teams, seeing this, it reminds me why the Ethery came here in the first place." Their moment of peace was interrupted by the arrival of Dr. Eleanor Kraft, the president's special advisor. Her face was set in its usual stern expression, but Sarah thought she detected a hint of softness as she observed the children's interaction. "Mayor Chen, Dr. Reeves," Kraft greeted them. "I hope I'm not interrupting." Sarah shook her head. "Not at all, Dr. Kraft. How can we help you?" Kraft's eyes never left the scene before them. The president is considering a bold move. He wants to establish a formal cultural exchange program between humans and the Ethery, and he wants it to happen here in Millbrook. Sarah's eyes widened. Here? But surely a major city would be better equipped. The Ethery have been insistent, Kraft cut in. They believe Millbrook's unique atmosphere is crucial to the success of this endeavor. They trust you, Mayor Chen. As the implications of this sank in, Zara approached the group, her tall form gliding gracefully across the grass. "I see Dr. Kraft has informed you of our proposal." Zara's mental voice resonated in their minds. "What do you think, Sarah Chen?" Sarah took a deep breath, her mind racing. "It's a huge responsibility. Are you sure Millbrook is ready for this?" Zara's form shimmered, conveying what Sarah had come to recognize as amusement. Is any place truly ready for such a monumental change? But we believe Millbrook has the right spirit, the openness we need for this exchange to succeed. Over the next few weeks, Millbrook transformed once again. The town became a hub of interspecies cooperation, with humans and Ethery working side by side to set up facilities for the cultural exchange program. The old community center was renovated and expanded, using a blend of human and Ethery technology. Inside, classrooms were set up where both species could learn about each other's history, culture, and science. One afternoon, Sarah found herself sitting in on one of these classes. An Ethery named Vex was attempting to explain their concept of time to a group of fascinated human scientists. You see, Vex's mental voice resonated. What you perceive as linear time is actually a multidimensional construct. Your past, present, and future exist simultaneously in a quantum superposition. Sarah glanced at Dr. Rees, who looked like he might explode with excitement. "This is revolutionary," he exclaimed. "It could completely reshape our understanding of physics." But not everyone in Millbrook was thrilled about the changes. As Sarah left the community center, she overheard a group of locals grumbling. "This ain't right," one man was saying. "These aliens are changing everything. What if they're here to take over?" Sarah sighed. Despite their best efforts at transparency and inclusion, fear and mistrust still lingered among some of the townspeople. She made a mental note to address these concerns at the next town hall meeting. As the cultural exchange program gained momentum, Millbrook became a beacon of hope for human-etheri relations. Delegations from around the world visited to observe and participate in the groundbreaking initiative. One day, as Sarah was giving a tour to a group of European diplomats, an alarm suddenly blared from the etheri ship. The diplomats froze in fear, but Sarah's heart raced with worry for her alien friends. She rushed towards the ship, Dr. Rees and Dr. Kraft close behind. They found Zara and several other etheri gathered around a holographic display, their forms pulsing with what Sarah recognized as agitation. "Zara, what's wrong?" Sarah asked, breathless. The etheri turned to them, her large eyes filled with what could only be described as concern. "We've detected an anomaly in the planet's energy field. It's troubling." Dr. Kraft stepped forward, her voice sharp. "What kind of anomaly? Is Earth in danger?" Zara's form shimmered uncertainly. "We're not sure. This is unprecedented. We need to investigate further." As the etheri huddled around their equipment, Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. She remembered Zara's words from their first meeting about Earth being at a crossroads, about the consequences that could affect the entire sector of the galaxy. "What can we do to help?" Sarah asked, determination in her voice. Zara turned to her, gratitude evident in her mental voice. "We need to establish monitoring stations around the planet, but more importantly, we need humanity's cooperation. This affects all of us, etheri and humans alike." Dr. Kraft nodded grimly. "I'll contact the president immediately. We'll need to inform other world leaders as well." As the gravity of the situation sank in, Sarah realized that the cultural exchange program had become more crucial than ever. It wasn't just about learning each other's customs or sharing scientific knowledge anymore. The fate of Earth, perhaps even the galaxy, might depend on how well humans and etheri could work together. That evening, as Sarah stood on the hill overlooking Millbrook, she watched the sun set behind the etheri ship. The town below bustled with activity, humans and aliens working side by side, united in purpose. Despite the looming threat, Sarah felt a glimmer of hope. In just a few short weeks, Millbrook had shown that cooperation between their species was possible. Now, they needed to prove that this cooperation could save their world. As the first stars appeared in the darkening sky, Sarah made a silent promise. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever sacrifices were required, she would do everything in her power to ensure that the story of human-etheri relations had a hopeful ending. Little did Sarah know, the true test of this fledgling alliance was just beginning. The anomaly detected by the etheri was merely the first tremor of a cosmic event that would shake the foundations of both their worlds. Rising tensions. As weeks turned into months, the initial excitement of first contact began to give way to a new normal in Millbrook. The cultural exchange program had brought about remarkable advancements in various fields, from physics to medicine, but it had also bred new complications. Sarah Chen sat in her office, rubbing her temples as she reviewed the latest incident report. A fight had broken out at the local diner between a group of humans and etheri over a misunderstanding about food preferences. It seemed trivial, but it was symptomatic of growing tensions. A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. Dr. Elias Reeves entered, his usual enthusiasm tempered by concern. "Mayor Chen, "We've got a situation at the research facility," he said without preamble. Sarah sighed, already rising from her chair. "What is it this time, Elias?" As they hurried towards the Joint Human Ethery Research Center on the outskirts of town, Elias filled her in. "There's been an accident in the quantum mechanics lab. One of the ethery scientists, Lyra, well, we're not sure what happened to her." Sarah's heart sank. Lyra had become a friend over the past months, her insatiable curiosity about human culture endearing her to many in Millbrook. Upon reaching the facility, they found it in chaos. Human scientists were arguing loudly with their ethery counterparts, while security personnel tried to maintain order. In the center of it all stood Zara, her form pulsating with what Sarah had come to recognize as distress. "Zara, what happened?" Sarah asked, approaching the alien. Zara's mental voice was strained. Lyra was attempting to demonstrate a principle of quantum entanglement. Something went wrong. "She's gone." "Gone?" Sarah echoed, confused. "You mean she's—" "We don't know," Zara interrupted. "Her physical form has disappeared, but we can still sense her consciousness. It's as if she's been scattered across multiple dimensions." Dr. Kraft pushed through the crowd, her face grim. "This is exactly the kind of incident we've been worried about. Experimenting with technology we don't fully understand." "With all due respect, Dr. Kraft," Elias cut in, "that's the nature of scientific progress. We take risks to advance our knowledge." As the argument escalated, Sarah noticed a group of local residents gathering outside the facility's gates. Their expressions were a mix of fear and anger. Word of the accident had spread quickly. "Everyone, please," Sarah called out, trying to restore order. "We need to approach this calmly and rationally. Dr. Reeves, work with the ethery scientists to figure out what happened and if there's any way to bring Lyra back. Dr. Kraft, I need you to assure the government that we have the situation under control." As the crowd dispersed to carry out her instructions, Zara approached Sarah. "Thank you, Sarah Chen. Your leadership in this crisis is appreciated." Sarah nodded, but couldn't shake her unease. "Zara, be honest with me. How dangerous is this situation? Could what happened to Lyra affect others?" Zara's form shimmered uncertainly. "We are not sure. The principles we were exploring touch on fundamental aspects of reality. The consequences could be far-reaching." Over the next few days, tensions in Millbrook reached a boiling point. Rumors spread that the ethery experiments were putting the town, perhaps even the entire planet, at risk. A group of residents, led by local businessman Frank Hawkins, began protesting outside the research facility. "We want them gone," Hawkins shouted through a megaphone. "These aliens are too dangerous. They're messing with forces they don't understand." Sarah watched the protest from her office window, her heart heavy. She had always known that integrating the ethery into Millbrook wouldn't be easy, but she hadn't anticipated this level of backlash. A soft mental touch alerted her to Zara's presence. "Your people fear what they do not understand," the alien observed. Sarah turned to face her friend. "Can you blame them? Lyra's accident, the energy anomalies you detected. People are scared, Zara." Zara's form rippled in what Sarah had come to recognize as a sigh. "Perhaps we have moved too quickly. Our eagerness to share knowledge may have blinded us to the complexities of your society." Before Sarah could respond, her phone rang. It was Dr. Reeves, his voice urgent. "Mayor Chen, you need to come to the research facility right away. We've made a breakthrough with Lyra's situation." Upon arriving at the facility, Sarah found a scene of controlled chaos. Scientists, both human and ethery, were bustling about, their excitement palpable. Dr. Reeves rushed up to her, his eyes wild with enthusiasm. "We've managed to establish communication with Lyra. She's not dead, Sarah. She's everywhere." "What do you mean, everywhere?" Sarah asked, trying to make sense of the situation. An ethery scientist named Vex stepped forward, his mental voice tinged with awe. Lyra's consciousness has become entangled with the fabric of space-time itself. She's experiencing reality on a level we've only theorized about. As Sarah struggled to grasp the implications of this, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Outside, the sky darkened ominously, swirling patterns of energy visible even to the naked eye. "What's happening?" Sarah shouted over the noise. Zora's mental voice was filled with urgency. "The anomalies we detected, they're intensifying. Lyra's state has triggered a cascade effect in the planet's energy field." Dr. Kraft burst into the room, her face pale. "We're getting reports of similar phenomena worldwide. Gravitational fluctuations, time distortions. The military is on high alert." As chaos erupted around them, Sarah felt a moment of clarity. This was the crisis Zora had warned about, the crossroads that would determine the fate of not just Earth, but this entire sector of the galaxy. "Zora," Sarah said, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "you said once that I might be the key to salvaging the future you hoped to build. What did you mean?" Zora's large eyes fixed on Sarah, conveying a depth of emotion that transcended species. "Your ability to bridge the gap between our peoples, Sarah Chen. Your openness to new ideas, balanced with a pragmatic approach to challenges. We believe that combination is crucial for navigating the crisis we now face." Sarah took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "Then let's get to work. We need to find a way to stabilize these anomalies and bring Lyra back. And we need to do it together, humans and Etheri." As Sarah began coordinating efforts between the scientists, government officials, and concerned citizens, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something monumental. The next few hours would determine not just the fate of Millbrook or even Earth, but potentially the course of cosmic history. The true test of human-Etheri cooperation was about to begin, with the fabric of reality itself hanging in the balance. Collaborative crisis. The sky above Millbrook roiled with ethereal energies, casting an otherworldly glow over the panicked town. Sarah Chen stood at the center of the research facility's main lab, surrounded by a frenetic mix of human and Etheri scientists. The air was thick with tension and the hum of alien technology. "Status report," Sarah demanded, her voice cutting through the chaos. Dr. Rees looked up from a console, his face haggard. "The quantum fluctuations are increasing exponentially. We're seeing ripple effects across the globe, gravitational anomalies, time dilation events, even spontaneous matter-energy conversions." Zora's mental voice interjected, tinged with urgency. "If we cannot stabilize the field soon, the consequences could be catastrophic, not just for Earth, but for this entire sector of the galaxy." Sarah nodded grimly. "All right, what are our options?" An Etheri scientist named Vex stepped forward, his form shimmering with excitement despite the dire circumstances. "We believe we can use our ship's drive core to generate a counter-resonance field. It could potentially neutralize the anomalies." "But," Sarah prompted, sensing the hesitation in Vex's mental voice. "But," Dr. Kraft interjected, having just entered the room, "it would require channeling an enormous amount of energy through the ship. The risks are significant." Sarah's mind raced, weighing the options. "What about Lyra? Any progress on bringing her back?" Dr. Reeves shook his head. "Was still in communication with her consciousness, but extracting her from her current state is proving challenging. She's become one with the fabric of space-time itself." As if on cue, a disembodied voice echoed through the lab, recognizable as Lyra's but somehow more vast, more alien. "I see everything. Past, present, future, all intertwined. The patterns, they're beautiful." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "Lyra, we need your help. Can you tell us how to stop these anomalies?" There was a pause, filled only by the beeping of equipment and the low hum of energy. When Lyra spoke again, her voice was tinged with sadness. "To stabilize, sacrifice is needed. A focal point, to anchor reality." The implications hung heavy in the air. Zora's form rippled with distress. Lyra, no, there must be another way. But Sarah's mind was already racing ahead. The ship, she said suddenly. You said the ship's drive core could generate a counter-resonance field. What if we use that, with Lyra acting as a focal point? The room erupted into a flurry of discussion, scientists arguing over calculations and theories. Dr. Kraft pulled Sarah aside, her face grave. Mayor Chen, you're talking about risking everything on an untested theory. If this goes wrong, and if we do nothing. Sarah countered. You've seen the reports, Doctor. We're out of time and options. As the debate raged on, a tremor shook the building. Outside, the swirling energies in the sky intensified, bolts of otherworldly lightning striking the ground. We need to act now, Sarah announced, her voice cutting through the chaos. Zara, can your people get the ship ready? The Aetheri leader nodded, her mental voice resolute. We can, but Sarah Chen, you should know, this plan, if it works, will likely mean the end of our mission here. The energy required, our ship may not survive. Sarah felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her. This decision would not only affect Millbrook or even just Earth, but potentially the entire galaxy. She thought of the friendships formed between humans and Aetheri, the knowledge shared, the promise of a broader cosmic community. We'll face that if we survive, Sarah said firmly. Right now, our priority is saving both our worlds. As the Aetheri rushed to prepare their ship, Sarah coordinated with Dr. Kraft to evacuate the surrounding area. The National Guard, already on standby, began moving people to safe zones. In the midst of the preparations, Elias approached Sarah, his eyes wide with a mix of fear and excitement. Sarah, I've volunteered to go with the Aetheri. They'll need a human perspective to calibrate the field correctly. Sarah felt her heart clench. Elias had become more than just a colleague over these past months. Elias, it's too dangerous. We don't know what will happen. He smiled wryly. Since when has that stopped scientific progress? Someone needs to go, Sarah. It should be me. Before Sarah could argue further, Zara's mental voice rang out. We are ready. It is time. The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. Sarah watched from a makeshift command center as the Aetheri ship rose into the turbulent sky, Elias aboard with the alien crew. The air crackled with energy as the ship's drive core powered up, generating the counter-resonance field. Lyra, Sarah called out, hoping the disembodied consciousness could still hear her. We need you now. Help us anchor this. For a moment, nothing happened. Then suddenly, a beam of pure energy shot from the ship, connecting with the swirling anomalies above. The sky lit up like a supernova, forcing everyone to shield their eyes. When the light faded, Sarah looked up to see the anomalies collapsing in on themselves, the turbulent energies stabilizing. But the Aetheri ship was nowhere to be seen. Elias? Zara? Can anyone hear me? Sarah called into her communicator, desperation creeping into her voice. For several agonizing moments, there was only static. Then, faintly, Elias's voice came through. We're here, Sarah. We made it. But we're not in Kansas anymore, if you know what I mean. Relief flooded through Sarah, followed quickly by confusion. What do you mean? Where are you? Zara's mental voice joined the conversation, filled with awe. The energy transference. It seems to have propelled us to another sector of the galaxy. We are far from home. As the implications of this sank in, Sarah realized that while they had saved Earth and stabilized the anomalies, the adventure was far from over. The Aetheri ship, with Elias aboard, was now lost in the vastness of space. Looking up at the now calm sky, Sarah Chen, the mayor of a small town who had become instrumental in saving the planet, knew that her role in this cosmic drama was not yet finished. Somehow, she would find a way to bring them home. The story of Millbrook, of Earth and the Aetheri, had taken an unexpected turn. But as Sarah rallied the remaining scientists and began planning their next steps, she felt a spark of hope. They had faced the impossible before and triumphed. They would do so again. The journey to the stars, it seemed, was only just beginning. A new era. In the months following the dramatic events that had saved Earth from cosmic calamity, Millbrook found itself at the center of a global transformation. The small town that had once prided itself on being unremarkable had become a symbol of humanity's first steps into a larger, more complex universe. Sarah Chen stood at the podium in front of Millbrook's newly constructed Interstellar Communication Center, a gleaming structure that melded human and ethery technology. Before her, a sea of faces, human and alien alike, waited expectantly. Cameras broadcasted the event to billions around the world. 1 year ago, Sarah began, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach, our quiet town became the epicenter of humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. Today, we take another historic step forward. She gestured to the massive dish behind her, its surface shimmering with an otherworldly energy. With this array, designed in collaboration with our ethery friends, we will be able to communicate across vast distances of space. Our first mission, to establish contact with the ethery ship that sacrificed so much to save our world. As cheers erupted from the crowd, Sarah's mind wandered to Elias, Zara, and the other brave souls aboard that ship. Lost in the vastness of space, but not forgotten, never forgotten. After the ceremony, Sarah retreated to her office, now filled with artifacts and technology that would have seemed impossible just a year ago. Dr. Kraft was waiting for her, a rare smile on the usually stern woman's face. Impressive speech, Mayor Chen, Kraft said. The president sends his congratulations. You've become quite the diplomat. Sarah sank into her chair, exhaustion finally catching up with her. Someone had to be. This is bigger than just Millbrook now, isn't it? Kraft nodded, her expression turning serious. Indeed, which is why I'm here. The UN is forming a new department, the Office of Interstellar Affairs. They want you to head it. Sarah's eyes widened in surprise. Me? But I'm just a small-town mayor. A small-town mayor who helped save the planet and has more experience dealing with extraterrestrial life than anyone else on Earth, Kraft countered. Think about it, Sarah. The world needs your unique perspective. As Kraft left, Sarah found herself staring out the window at the changed landscape of Millbrook. The town had grown, with new research facilities and housing for the influx of scientists and diplomats from around the world. And yet, at its heart, it was still the close-knit community she had always known. A soft mental touch alerted her to the presence of Vex, one of the ethery who had chosen to remain on Earth. Your thoughts are troubled, Sarah Chen, the alien observed. Sarah turned to her friend, a wry smile on her face. Just contemplating the future, Vex. So much has changed so quickly. Vex's form shimmered in what Sarah had come to recognize as their version of a nod. Change is the nature of the universe. But remember, it was your adaptability, your willingness to embrace the unknown, that brought us to this point. As they stood in comfortable silence, a sudden burst of activity from the communication array caught their attention. Sarah's heart raced as she rushed to the control room, Vex close behind. Inside, technicians were scrambling around consoles, their faces a mix of excitement and disbelief. Dr. Reeves looked up as Sarah entered, his eyes wide. We've got something, Sarah. A signal. It's faint, but it's definitely from the ethery ship. Sarah felt her breath catch in her throat. Elias, Zara, can you hear us? For a moment, there was only static. Then, faintly, Elias's voice came through. Sarah, is that you? God, it's good to hear a familiar voice. Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes as she laughed in relief. Elias, you're alive. Where are you? What happened? Over the next hour, Elias and Zara took turns explaining their incredible journey. The energy surge that had saved Earth had catapulted them across the galaxy, far beyond any charted space. They had encountered wonders and terrors beyond imagination, made first contact with other alien species, and discovered ancient artifacts that hinted at a universe far more complex and interconnected than anyone had ever dreamed. "But Sarah," Elias said, his voice growing serious, "we've discovered something else. Something big. The anomalies we encountered on Earth, they're not isolated. There's a pattern to them, spreading across this entire sector of the galaxy." Zara's mental voice joined in. "We believe we were meant to find this, Sarah Chen. Your world, your Millbrook, it's part of something greater. A cosmic tapestry we're only beginning to understand." As Sarah listened to their incredible tale, she felt a familiar sense of anticipation building within her. The same feeling she'd had when the Etheri first landed in Millbrook Park. The knowledge that everything was about to change again. "We're coming home," Elias announced. "And we're bringing a universe of knowledge with us. But Sarah, Earth needs to be ready. What we've learned, what we've seen, it's going to change everything." As the communication ended, Sarah stood in stunned silence, processing the implications of what she'd heard. The offer from the UN, the revelations from Elias and Zara, the hints of a greater cosmic design, it all swirled in her mind. Vex placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "What will you do, Sarah Chen?" Sarah took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders as she made her decision. "What I've always done, Vex. Face the unknown head-on. If Earth is part of something bigger, then we need to be prepared, and I intend to make sure we are." As she left the communication center, Sarah's mind was already racing with plans. There was so much to do. Prepare Earth for the return of the Etheri ship, establish protocols for further alien contact, investigate the galactic anomalies, and somehow help humanity take its next steps into a universe far more vast and wondrous than anyone had ever imagined. The sun was setting over Millbrook, casting a golden glow over the town that had become the gateway to the stars. Sarah Chen, once a small-town mayor and now a pivotal figure in Earth's cosmic journey, smiled to herself. The adventure, it seemed, was only just beginning. As she walked home through the streets of her transformed town, Sarah felt a sense of excitement and purpose unlike anything she'd ever known. The future was uncertain, filled with challenges and wonders in equal measure. But one thing was clear: humanity's place in the universe would never be the same. And Millbrook, the unremarkable town that had become remarkable beyond imagining, would continue to lead the way into this brave new cosmic frontier. The end, or perhaps just the beginning.